something on my mind. I bet you know what I'm thinking about. You know I can't stop loving you. Every time when you're looking at me, it feels like my heart is skipping a beat, yeah. You know I can't live without you. You make me crazy in a good way. So come on, baby, let's talk. Let's talk about love, like you and me all night. And let's talk about love and feeling alright. And let's talk about love. Yeah, baby, come and dance with me. You're everything I'll ever need. So let's talk about love. Can I take you out tonight? Kiss you in the moonlight. There is no place I'd rather be. Come on, girl, we can take my car, drinking some beers in your favorite bar, yeah. You know I can't live without you. You make me crazy in that good way. So come on, baby, let's talk. Let's talk about love, like you and me all night. And let's talk about love and feeling alright. And let's talk about love. Yeah, baby, come and dance with me. You're everything I'll ever need. So let's talk about love. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about love.
Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone that is watching me out there, watching the Marriage Makeover. Tonight is episode number 1. We're doing episode number 1 tonight, and I am excited. I'm just excited about this show. I'm excited that God downloaded this into me for everyone out there. Before you know it, we will have covered every single person in the family. But as you know, the foundation is marriage. The foundation of a family is marriage. The foundation of the church is marriage. And that's where we're going in this season, the first season, first episode of the Marriage Makeover. And tonight we're delving into a topic called building emotional intimacy. And you're probably saying, Dr. Sharon, what in the world is that? Some of you probably are watching because you're wondering where we're going with this topic. And every time we see intimacy, we automatically jump to sex, but we're not jumping there tonight. We're going to my favorite place, and that's the mind. Intimacy of the mind, more important than anything else. Once you understand your spouse from the mindset, you get a better grip on everything else. So that's where we're going tonight. I invited 2 couples to be with me tonight. One couple got sick, so we have 1 couple, but we are going to work with who we have, and they are spectacular. So I'm just going to read their bio to you. They're a young couple, but don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted into thinking you have to be married for 40 plus years to understand this type of intimacy. Listen to their bio, and you will see that it takes a lot of emotional intimacy to run their house. This is a real life couple, navigating the ups and downs of modern love, but living according to the word of God. Married for 10 years. Let me just bring them in, and there they are with their little cuteness over there. Married for 10 years and together for 12 years. They look like they could be almost 12, but no. Married for 12 years. They have 4, not 3, not 2, not 1. They have 4 children, and they're all girls. I cannot imagine what that means for this husband. Their entire family are BKs: Bernard, Bethany, Bailey, Brooke, Brianna, and Berkeley King. They are kings. They're the king's kids, and they take pride in loving on one another. So tonight, the Marriage Makeover welcomes Bernard and Bethany King. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hello.
Hey there. Hey there.
Hey there. How's it going? I know we're in the same town, but
Yeah.
I just want to know how it's going over there on your side of this town.
We'll start it off.
It's just busy every day. The girls are back in school now, so navigating through that and just trying to work our way through work, everyday life, and try not to get sick.
Yeah, try not to get sick like my other couple did, right? So yeah, we're just delving into the topic, guys. We're just talking about emotional intimacy, and I think if anybody could of course, technology is not on our side tonight. It's going in and out, but work with us tonight on this show. Listen to the meat of the matter. Listen to our voices, even when you probably can't see our faces sometimes. Listen to what we're saying. So my first question to you guys would be, how do you connect with your spouse emotionally? How does that happen in your house? Anybody can answer.
Absolutely. I'll take the reins on this one. But say answering emotionally, and obviously just to make sure that the audience understand that I didn't have this in year 1 and year 2 in marriage. It was something that over time, being willing to learn it, I got it. But I would say that, especially with women, understanding what they're saying without them actually saying it, right? And what I mean by that, I'm the infamous husband who leaves his clothes and his socks right on the outside of the basket where it belongs. That's me. And my wife, I realized, would be upset about it. And for me, I'm thinking it's not that big. But over time, I would understand that her cleaning up and doing things around the house by me not picking those things up, it was almost like a slap in the face to her for all the hard work that she had been doing. So understanding emotionally is really understanding and trying to understand your spouse entirely. And sometimes they're not going to say exactly what they're feeling, but you have to, what I call, be tapped into your spouse, and you'll be able to understand some of the things that they're saying. So it can be difficult early on, especially you coming from where you come from, she's coming from where she comes from, and you guys are merging together to try and figure out, each other in one space. So those are things that I try and understand better and better as the time progresses in the marriage and understanding my spouse, my wife.
All right. So, Bethany.
Yes, I think it is actively listening to my spouse without trying to be right. I think it is carving out time to just watch a simple show, to just love on him. I think it is actually just, how can I say this? One moment, because I want to gather my thoughts the correct way. But I think it's just being open and honest with each other and just living together and exploring things together and not doing things apart so much and involving each other in everyday life situations too.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, you just heard the male answer and the female answer, right? We tend to go in different directions because we're just made that way. We're different. We're different. We're different. We're different emotionally. I just realized that I forgot to introduce my own self. I'm Dr. Sharon, Dr. Sharon Aaron, and coach, and my niche happens to be couples and women. So tonight and with this show, just wanted to talk to couples, singles, whoever I grab at the moment. And so my next question for Bernard and Bethany would be, how does the fact that you have a shared faith in God influence your emotional connection?
Take it.
I think the fact that we actually, have a love and admiration for God, it causes us to try to stay in line with God's word and what he has called us to do. And sometimes, my husband like to do a lot of different things, and he jump at things, and I'll be like, hold on, like, let me catch up. I would say I'm an introverted extrovert. So it takes me a minute, but he's like kind of extroverted, but when he's in the house, he's an introvert. So it takes me a moment, but I think like when we're following the will of God for our life and we're connecting on that level, we try to find a common denominator and not just, argue to be right, like put God in the middle of the situation, take a moment to assess things and make sure we're saying and doing the right things, because we do know that we have others that are looking up to us and following us as well. So we have to be an example. And I think that helps with our emotional relationship as well, because we just can't, say what we want to say. We have to listen to understand. We have to love each other as, Christ loved the church, and we have to do certain things that the Bible requires of us to do. So we just can't go on our own accord, even when we feel like it. We have to take a moment and just do what the word says to do. So I think it helps in our relationship and keeps us grounded.
Yeah. And, for those of you listening, sometimes, she talked a lot about the word being the Bible, basic instructions, right? But sometimes as couples, we don't go there first. And that creates an issue. We don't go there first. We go at each other instead of with each other. And so that creates a lot of barriers emotionally as well. So Bernard, did you have anything to add to Bethany's response?
What I would say is, and if I would speak to someone that isn't married yet, one of the things that helped me when I was looking for my spouse is that I think a lot of people end up falling into like instead of the values. And, we can like to shop, but our values need to be aligned. And having Christ at our center helps us in our decisions, right? We're not going to agree on every single thing that happens, but we have to understand, hey, this is what God would like for us to do in this situation. This is what this should be like. And I would tell you, it's hard with the word. I can only imagine what it's like if you don't have the word in your marriage. So, it's one of those things to where it's a constant thing where, the Bible and we're on a daily basis of relationship. So I'm still learning, still growing in those areas. So for me is I have to, and she talked about, God and things like that. But I think even the reverence that I have for God, like how can I destroy something and break something down that God gave to me? And I think that reverence helps my spouse because it's something that God has ordained in my life. So those things kind of keep, like she said, keep me grounded as well too, and appreciating, her as my spouse as well.
I like the fact that you said she's a gift, right? Because sometimes we forget that it's a gift, right? And what happens, we just finished with Christmas and stuff. And when we get gifts, we want to unwrap and we want to see what's inside. And sometimes in a marriage, when you unwrap, at first, it's not exactly the gift that you thought it was going to be. And
Yeah.
so, how long have you guys been married again?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. And so, within the first few years, you will probably keep, when you get a gift in a gift bag and there's a lot of paper. So, you keep taking the paper out, because you want to get to the nitty gritty of this gift. And that is what I believe creates that emotional stability for a marriage, so that you can get from this 10th year all the way to life, right? All the way to life. And so, how do you guys, with all these girls all around you, navigate disagreements and still stay abreast of this emotional closeness that you're trying to develop?
Yeah. So I'm a student of life. That's the way I would consider myself, as a student of life. And I think for men, and I speak because that's what I grew up as, that's what I am now. But we try to be dominant so much that it ends up causing a rift in the relationships. Um, but for me, I believe that two people can be right. And I think sometimes you get caught up in your right, that you defend it so much that you end up offending the other individual. So, for example, if she says that this flower pot should go to the right, and I believe it should be to the left, a question would be is, hey, baby, why do you think it should go to the right? And she may say, hey, my mother's always done it, and it's beautiful. And I would say, hey, mom, she does a good job. Probably keep it that way. And then I would just express my part. Well, I like the left side because of this. And at some point, I may just settle in with the being to the right. And I think that's something that us, even as a people, need to understand. And we battle so much in this country with being right, that all we're doing is making sure that the other person is wrong. And if we pull that aside, I think that we can grow together, even as a community, and understanding, guess what? She's right and I'm right. Now, what do we want to do with these two right answers? And that would be the follow-up question. So we're always going to have disagreements. We just talked about it from the beginning. My mother's name is Angela. Her mother is Tracy. They grew up in two different areas, right? They had two different parents. And because of that, there's things that she already has. There's things that I already had going into this relationship. So I think trying to understand that, and we do have disagreements, but sometimes I'll pause for a second and say, what am I really defending? And I think in that question, I think it's beautiful. What am I defending? And I may be defending something from my great grandfather, who I've never met. So you got to be careful what you're defending. So I think that's a thing for me, being a student of life, is learning and challenging myself on the rights that I believe as well too.
Wow. I like the defense and offense, right? Because sometimes you get into a rift because, like you said, you don't realize or come to the place where it's not just two people coming together, it's two cultures. Regardless of the color of your skin, you came from a different culture, you came from a different background, you came from a different way of being brought up. And here you go now to blend this all together. And I'm sure over the years, you guys have come to realize that this roller coaster, I call it marriage roller coasters, right? Because when you're going uphill, it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
And then you get to the top and you know something is going to happen. Something is going to happen. You're going to jump off, and where you end up could either allow you to live or die because of the rush of it. And so you cannot always be on the defense. You want to understand the other person, not just from what they look like but from where they came from. So Bethany, Any thoughts on that for us? You
He
didn't think
basically,
I was going to leave you out.
oh, no, said everything, but like he did say, I remind him and he reminds me that, I tell him a lot, I don't think how you think. So although you may think that your way of doing it is right, because like you said, it is culture, I may think my way of doing it is right. And sometimes, you butt heads and it can become a thing. But I've learned to, when I get frustrated, it used to be a time, like you said, back in the day where I would get frustrated and I would get mad and you would go off. But now I've like taken a step back and I just sit with it. And then I try to like assess, like, am I really mad? What is making me mad? I go through all my feelings. And like I tell him, I'm a person that feels. So I want to feel what I'm feeling so I can, feel it and then move past it. But at the end of the day, I think we forgive each other quickly. Like I laugh real fast. Like he may say something to make me mad, and in the next breath he makes me laugh, and I just let it go because I feel like I don't want to, die today, and then I'm mad about something so small and minute that we could have moved past. So I saying about the disagreements, we do have them, but is it worth it in the end? Is it worth it to go to sleep mad at each other? Is it worth it to, be arguing about it the next day when we should rejoice daily in the new day that we have? We only have 24 hours, so why waste it on something simple and small?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say this too, and this is kudos to her. I would say probably a few days ago, we were kind of having, like, it was just a disagreement. And she stopped and she said, "This isn't something we should even be fussing about." And I was in awe, and I was taken aback because it was so beautiful, right? Because it was a moment where both of us are trying to find a way to do it. And she was like, "Hey, this isn't even something we should even really be arguing about. We can make this happen without even trying to combat each other." And I think, in talking about the subject, when the two of you find a way to try and be together a lot, you'll realize that two heads are better than one. Let's work together in this. We spent the last 5 minutes fussing at each other, and we worked nowhere towards the problem. Let's put our heads together. And it was so beautiful. And I told her the day she did it that it was beautiful hearing that. And I think a lot of times for us too in marriage too is to give props and kudos to your spouse when you see them get better at something, right? It's so easy to just be like, okay, well, you're bad at this, you're not good at this. But when they do something, that you view as well and is conducive to the growth of the marriage, also give them a pat on the back too when they do things like that as well too. So I wanted to give her kudos here on camera.
That is so sweet. We just want to stop for a minute and eat it all up, right? We just want to stop for a minute. And I'm getting excited because of your age group, to that. I don't know who is listening, but look at these young people and listen to how they're navigating this thing called marriage, especially emotionally. It takes a lot of growth and a lot of understanding to do this. So kudos to both of you for, keeping it together and continuing to keep it together, not just as a couple, but as a family. So when there's stress, as it sometimes happens, what support do you offer each other during stressful times or hard times that help keep you emotionally connected?
Oh, okay. Well, I let my husband be himself, and sometimes men don't have a safe place to be a man or even feel, or they don't know what to do with those feelings because the world tells them they have to be strong. So sometimes I do a check-in on them, like, "Hey, you okay?" or "How you feeling?" Or if something took place, I ask him, "Well, how did that make you feel?" The same way I want to ask him the same way I would ask my kids, just to do a check-in on him to make sure he's okay, and that it's okay to feel a certain type of way. It's okay to, be mad and upset, but we go through those feelings together, and then it's like we can come together. But sometimes, you have your feelings where you just want to break off to yourself because someone doesn't understand, and then you may come back together and say, yesterday I wasn't feeling it yesterday, but I just want to come and tell you how X, Y, and Z made me feel, and then we come together and we can discuss it when cooler heads prevail. So I think those are always good ways to like check in on each other, making sure we're loving each other, making sure that we know that, hey, we are different, or we do think a different way, but I'm just here for you if you need me, even if you don't feel like talking. Those are ways I like, just make it a safe space for him and just try to be there for him, because like I said, we are different people. He don't think like I do, and I don't think how he do, but I do try to be there for him and love on him.
Oh man, all the girls out there, don't you just want to, rub up on her and get some of that flavor on you? Get some of that flavor, because as girls, we just live in these feelings, right? We just live in these feelings. So it's good that you allow him to get his feelings as well, because men tend to not. It's easier to just shove it under the carpet and say, I don't want to deal with that right now. So those check-ins must be amazing for you.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not.
The check-ins are good. I would say for me, and I would take it back from when I was younger. I've always had great admirations to be a great worker, businessman, a great guy in the community. Like she says, I'm kind of always on the go. And there's a lot of times to where I feel the burden. And not that I hate to even call it a burden, but you know how us guys are, right? Even saying that sounds bad to me. But carrying that, there's times where it's like, baby, I'm needing that safe space, right? I even tell young guys too that it's okay to be able to cry, but I got to be able to cry in a safe space. So I think for my spouse being able to do that, I think it's amazing, because I'm she'll tell you I'm either 0 or 100, right? I'm either not doing it or I'm all the way in. I don't know what 50% is. So because of that, there's a lot that it, it takes a toll on me after a while. And I think for my part of it is, in helping her through the stresses, is I believe that myself, I'm a toolkit, right? I can't use the same tool every single time. Sometimes it's laughter that she needs, and sometimes she's mad, and laughter is not what you want to go to. There's times where it's a hug. There's sometimes where there's a holding, right? And I think the other thing, and I was telling the young man the other day, is that I just recently started finding out about love language. And some people will say, well, how do you do that? Well, if I learned that in year 9, there's men that are 40 years married that don't know their wife love language, right? And the same thing goes for teaching. How does a person learn? Is it hands on, or is it they need to hear it? Are they visual? So in all of that, I think being able to find out what your spouse needs and being able to give what you have to them. So I think you must always be evolving in marriage, because what she wants at 27 may not be what she wants at 35. And so if you keep producing the same thing and she's changing, you might get a lot of friction there. So like I said, I'm a student of life, so I want to keep getting better. Do I get upset sometimes? Yeah, I get upset because I don't have the answer. I don't get upset if I have the answer, because I know what tool I can go to. So in that, her giving that to me, I want to give, something to her as well too. So it's just about, providing whatever she needs in those moments. And sometimes she just has to be open to me and tell me exactly what she needs, so that I can see if I have it and can produce it for her.
Well, we're winding down, everybody, and I'm just so honored to be in the presence of you guys at this stage of your marriage. Marriage does not, it's not one of, it's under siege right now, especially as far as in the church. We have a lot of people living like roommates, not really married, just married publicly. But it's good to see you guys here in the comfort of your home, being married, and knowing that this is not just my roommate, this is my spouse, this is my romance, right? This is this is my toolkit. And I like that word, toolkit, because when you have a toolkit, you're able to fix an amazing amount of things. My husband is a tool guy,
Yeah.
Every time I go, do you have such an, oh, I don't know, but I think I do. And somewhere in the house, he goes and he finds this tool. So it's good to know that you're utilizing each other as that kit, because people come to me as the counselor to ask me to fix them.
Yeah.
All I could do is give you the tools.
Yes.
I can't fix. I cannot fix your marriage. I could give you the tools. The thing won't it just won't. And so as we wind down to this final question of tonight, if anybody out there has a question, just pose it for us if you do, and we will ask Bernard and Bethany if they could jump in and give an answer. We don't have all the answers tonight, but every single answer lies where, guys?
In the heart.
Say it again.
In the heart.
In the heart, and in the heart of God, right? Every single answer is really in those basic instructions that we're reading in the Bible. And for a lot of couples, Christian couples, that's the biggest thing. We don't open it.
Yes.
We don't open it. We don't clear it. We don't read it. We don't get no fixing. Is right in between the two covers of that book. So now we're going to go to the book, right? And the Bible says in Genesis 2:24, it mentions a man and woman becoming one flesh in marriage. How is this played out in the area of emotional intimacy in your marriage? How do you become one flesh emotionally?
I think even going into context into the scripture, that God seeing that man was alone and realized he needed company, right? So I think in that by itself, I think when you read it in that manner, you realize that it's better if you do have a spouse, right? And definitely a good spouse. But in that, I just believe that it's a moment of uprooting from the selfish side of it, right? Because before marriage, you're able to do everything on your own, however you want to, never having to answer really to anyone, probably outside of your parents. But when marriage happens and the connection happens, you have to consider the other individual, right? So you give up, quote unquote, that right in not having to worry about what somebody else is going to feel or do. And I think in that, I would say most men believe that, well, a woman can't tell me anything, right? Now, in my house, I'm going to make the final decision, but why would I step over wise counsel, right? So I think in that, being able to say, hey, you know what? I honor and respect you enough to hear what you say. And there's a good chance that I may even go with that. But just continue to give that to me, because there's probably a moment where God gives you something. I don't want to miss that because I'm so selfish. But I think in dying to yourself, you gain more with being connected. And we obviously know that just in business as well too, right? Like if you're a solo, call them solopreneurs, like there's only so far you can go. But with my wife and my spouse, I'm able to go further because we're connected. So it's really just respecting your partner. I think if you marry that individual, I think you should consider some of the things that they say and request. In other words, why did you even want to marry that individual who isn't smart enough to even consider something that you do? So, just for me, I think that's me being able to kind of grow for myself and connect with one individual so that we can go further.
Wow. Just want to stop to just say, apologizing for the internet going in and out, but I believe that we're getting the gist of this tonight. Before Bethany even responds, we're getting the gist of what it takes to actually build a foundation for marriage. And I'm so grateful to you guys. I could have chosen anybody. I'm an old fogey, right? I could have chosen one of my peeps, right? And say, come on and tell us how you've stayed married for 50 years or 40 something years or whatever. But you guys are still in that foundation place. And I wanted other couples to see how this plays out from beginning to end. You have to get to a place, like my dad used to say to my mom, and I didn't understand it at the time, I'm going to stay married even if it hurts.
Yes.
He had to make a decision at some point to say, I'm just going to stay married. If my mom ever made some situation where she said, he said, if you pack your stuff, I'm packing my stuff because I'm coming with you. So you gotta have that kind of, and that sex is wonderful, and we're gonna get there. We're actually gonna get there, because I know a lot of y'all watched because you thought we were gonna get there tonight. But before we get there, we gotta understand the foundation of it all. Especially, I believe, as men, you have to understand that it's not always gonna be like so perfect. Like when you met the person, all you saw was Bethany's face. Yes. And we tend to not want to say we married somebody because we like the way they look. It's good to like the way your spouse looks, right? So you saw her face, and then all of a sudden something came out of her mouth, and something sparked your attention even more than her face, because if it's just her face, then it's not going to last. Absolutely. Something has to come out of her mouth and out of her mind that will never change for the rest of your marriage, because it stays that way. Our faces, everything change about us physically, but there's something about that emotional space. And if I were to put a picture of a couple emotionally, I would put them sitting, and I think I saw this somewhere, and all you could see was the brain and the mind moving. No face, no facial expression, nothing. All you could see was what was going on behind their face. And so that's where we were going tonight. And so I'm going to give Bethany her chance to give us ladies something to run away with tonight.
Well, I actually think, like, when we're speaking about the oneness, like, some females, or we got these new age millennials. I won't talk about the Gen Z and all of them, but people who came up in our time where, like you said, marriage is, people are not desiring to be married anymore. So you have these independent women who are now saying, oh, I don't have to tell a man where I'm going. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. But when you're a one, you want to communicate those things with your spouse. You want your spouse to know where you are. My mom always used to tell me, before you leave the house, let somebody know where you're going. So, you know, in the event something happens to you, somebody know where you are. And I feel like it's that same respect to your spouse. Like, he don't control me, but because I love him and because he loved me, I want him to know where I'm at just in case, you know, something was to happen. And it doesn't take anything away from me to do that. It's not a control method, like he's controlling me. But at the same time, it's like I do have his location because he goes more than I go. But when he asks for my location, I don't want to give it to him just in case I'm at Ross when I tell him I'm on the way home from Ross and I'm not where I need to be at. So I laughed with my sister about that earlier because I said, my husband knows.
Tell it, sister. Tell it.
I'm not doing anything wrong. He know I'm probably somewhere, you know, at a store because, you know, Ross had the 49-cent today. But all in all, like, if it came down to it, it's nothing that I need to hide. And I feel when we're one and we're connected, you want to make sure that, hey, my husband feel that closeness to me, that, you know, we can go over things together. We can discuss things. We can, you know, we can feel the feelings together. Like, it's nothing. It's almost like being best friends. Like how he said that Adam wasn't meant to be alone. Like, I don't feel like we're meant to be, you know, separated for long periods of time. Like, me and my husband for almost 7 or 8 years had never spent a day away from each other. So when we actually did, I couldn't sleep at night. And when he goes away, like, just to help his mama do something, I can't sleep until my husband hits the door at nighttime. I have to make sure. So I think it's being in tune with each other, knowing each other, you know, inside and out, cultivating the feelings that we have for each other, and just like growing our love daily, or, you know, even just put on a movie or a show that we like. I can't watch the show without him, or vice versa. It's little small things. And people think you got to, you know, have these big dates or these magical moments, but it's the small things that matter. So I say that's what I see when I see oneness, like with couples or marriage. I see just loving each other without faults, loving each other, you know, each and every day, saying that, hey, we're getting better in this thing, because we wasn't, you know, we didn't start out this way. But over the years, we have grown to love each other in different ways and, you know, aspire to be better in spite of the things that we have overcame, because we have been through some hard trials and tribulations, but we got past those. And now we can look back at it and it can be a testimony and, you know, help for other people who are going through the similar, you know, situations now. And you be thinking, like, I told him recently, I didn't understand why God took me through a certain situation a few years ago. And I said, you know, you want to get mad, you want to call somebody, but you just had to cry that thing out and be in the wilderness with God alone. And it was only to grow my relationship with God at the time, but to help me love him more and show us that, you know, in the oneness that, hey, we do agree to disagree, but in some ways we are alike, in some ways we differ. But at the same time, it grew my faith in God. But the faith that I grew in God allowed me to love my husband more and honor him more. So I think when we speak about oneness, we have to speak to those things, that we didn't just get here. We didn't just land here. Like he said, we evolved. I've become 4 different people over the course of this marriage, and we've become one as the years, you know, went on. We became one. We went through some of the toughest times together as one, and outside things tried to break us, but we just went through it.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for you all. I'm excited for your future. And I'm excited for everybody watching as well. We got a lot of comments over here. We got all the amens, all the yeses, all, you know, all the family members, all the people that we know, everybody chiming in. But let us not forget that once we leave this platform, you got to live this thing. It's about living this thing, and we're getting ready to leave here. But Bethany mentioned about being an example to other couples coming behind them. So do you guys do that? Do you guys mentor couples or anything?
I think we not even, I think we do it without having, quote unquote, a title to do so. But I used to joke years ago, my friends would never invite me to the club, but whenever there was a problem, I'll be one of the first that they'll call. And she's grown to be the same thing for her friends as well too. But if my friends ever have any issues and hate to call it an issue, but if they're trying to understand something, because it's not always an issue, but they'll call me and I'll talk about it. And I think that's a good thing with having my relationship with God too, that I don't lead them astray. Because I do believe that the blood will be on my hands. If my friend, quote unquote, astray in the message. So I don't take those phone calls lightly. And if I take those phone calls, she'll tell you they usually last about an hour. I don't talk to a lot of people on the phone. So if it's something serious, I talk it all the way through to try and understand them and get it through. So yeah, we do that. We do that quite a bit throughout the year with friends.
Well, I asked the question because I always have couples, younger couples, that need this mentoring situation. And so I'm about to crown you mentors, right? And ask you for an email address for anybody who might want to connect with you and ask you questions. I want to pour that oil right now on you as a couple to be. I'm not, I don't have a license to give anybody, but we all need a mentor. We all need a mentor. And there are probably some older couples out there who could use your mentoring as well. So, if you have an email address, not a phone number, but an email address that somebody could reach out to you, just tell us and we'll tell it. Do you have an email that you want to share tonight?
Yes, my email address, and I'll try my best to spell it for you, but it's benevolent, which means kind. Benevolent, which is my last name, KING, 23 at Gmail. So benevolent, which is B as in boy, I would say E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward again, V as in Victor, O as in Oscar, L as in Lima, E as in Edward, drop it down to the bottom, N as in Nancy, King, KING 23 at gmail.com. You can reach me.
And there you have it, everyone. Benevolent, kind king. Benevolent King 23 at gmail.com. If you need their services, I'm going to need their services in the future for couples that I work with, because I think you have a great thing going. You have told us about this foundation that you and God have built together. And I'm so honored to be in your presence tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. And for those of you who've been seeing me advertise my mental software renewal experience, Bernard is one of my speakers. So if you have not gotten your ticket, I'm plugging it tonight. And you want to hear him really speak from the point of view as a personal development coach, come on out to Royal Palm Beach just to hear him really get up there and tell it about how we can continue to keep our minds focused on what we need to focus on. So there you have it. This was season 1, episode 1 with the Kings. And I am so grateful that you showed up tonight. And we look forward to you watching us next time when we come in 2 weeks on January 20th. And we'll be talking about romance. Romancing your spouse. That's where we're going next time. And I'm sure down the road somewhere in this year, you're going to see the Kings another time on this show that we call the Marriage Makeover. Thank you for joining me tonight. Again, my name is Dr. Sharon Arundel, and I am the CEO of Inspired Wholeness Enterprise. Thank you for joining me, and have a good night.
Let's talk about love, like you and me all night, and let's talk about love.